Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. For today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys a side-by-side look and comparison of the Simply Charlotte Mason Arithmetic series. I have book 2, and I'm going to be comparing it against Ray's new primary arithmetic. These are kind of on a similar grade level, so I thought it'd be fun to kind of sit down and share with you guys not really just the content differences, because they're very similar when it comes to the content and style, but I wanted to go into more depth on comparing the two. So we're going to go into a little bit of a background between the two curriculums, so a little bit of a history lesson behind them. Not a long one, but a brief history about the two separate curriculums, as well as teacher style, learning style. But most importantly, especially as a homeschool mama, I'm going to be sharing my pros and cons of each one separately, and then we'll come back together and kind of give my final thoughts on what I've been really loving the most right now, because they're both so beautiful and we've just really been enjoying them in our home. If you guys are new here, my name is Dana. I'm a homeschooling mama to 4 little ones, and if you have not already, I'd love to have you join our family. You can do so by subscribing down below. But with all of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and grab the camera, and we're going to get into a side-by-side comparison of, again, Ray's new primary arithmetic with the Simply Charlotte Mason arithmetic series. So comparing the Simply Charlotte Mason Arithmetic Book 2 with the Ray's new primary arithmetic. So as a homeschool mama, really finding the right math curriculum can definitely be a journey, but it can also be a little bit of a challenge. I know math specifically is probably one of the most switched homeschool curriculums, at least it has been in my personal experience, but also seeing a lot of other mamas here on YouTube share their curriculum picks or their curriculum choices. Math seems to be a common denominator with one of those things that we all kind of struggle with, whether it be finding something that works, finding a different method, and honestly just switching things up seems to be a pretty common thing, especially within homeschool families. So each curriculum, as we know as a homeschool mama, has its unique approach to teaching math. So I thought we would go ahead and start by doing a brief history of the two curriculums, starting with the Charlotte Mason Elementary Arithmetic. Charlotte Mason is part of the broader educational philosophy of Charlotte Mason. If you do not know who Charlotte Mason was, she was a British educator active in the late, I want to say 19th and early 20th centuries. Mason advocated for a very, very rich literature-based education that emphasized the importance of engaging with real-world experiences. So in this day and time, just very, very different from what was available at the time. So a lot of her curriculum, whether it be language arts, writing, really everything, you will see that there really is those living books, the living literature, and that is how she really focuses on learning. Her arithmetic series reflects this philosophy as well by integrating the narratives and practical applications to cultivate a love for learning. So it's kind of a brief little rundown of the Charlotte Mason Elementary Arithmetic. So when it comes to the background history of Ray's new primary arithmetic, this was developed by Joseph Ray in a modern iteration of his original work from the 19th century, again from the same time period as Charlotte Mason. This curriculum focuses more on, I would say, systematic instruction and practical problem solving, and it also aims to build a solid foundation in arithmetic through, I want to say, more solid explanations and repetitive practice. There's a lot of practice in here, and Ray's approach is well regarded for its emphasis on mastering basic skills, making it a staple in many homeschooling environments, even still today. So that's a little bit of a brief rundown as far as the history between the two curriculums. So I thought I would talk about next is the learning styles and teacher approaches. So the Simply Charlotte Mason Arithmetic appeals to children who really just thrive in a context-rich learning environment. So the narrative-driven lessons encourage children to connect mathematical concepts to their daily lives and really fosters what I would consider to be very good critical thinking skills. This curriculum really invites parents to engage as facilitators, allowing children to explore math concepts at their own pace. And I would 100% agree that if your child is more of that hands-on learner and wants really heavy context when it comes to the manipulative base and the real life learning, then they would definitely thrive with the Simply Charlotte Mason math. On the other hand, Ray's new primary arithmetic caters to the learners who really benefit from the structured and straightforward instructions. So these are very different in their approach. And as I've kind of been going through the two, even with my own personal personal experience here, I would definitely agree with that. Like, they are very, very different. Now, when I first said I was thinking about adding these into our homeschool, I was like, these are gonna probably be a lot alike because they're from the same time period. I was really surprised as I started doing it more how different the two really are. So the lessons in the Raised Arithmetic follow a very logical sequence, which makes it easy for children to build on their knowledge progressively. So Raised Primary Arithmetic, I would say, is particularly effective for children who need repetition and clarity to grasp really the foundational concepts in order to move on to math. So to kind of rewind a little bit and compare the two and summing it up, this one is going to really allow children to connect with mathematical concepts. So what I mean by connecting is it's going to really inspire them and encourage them to visually connect with mathematics. So a lot of the times, if you're not familiar with Charlotte Mason math, is they have something called assembling a table. And every single morning or every single lesson, you're going to actually visually lay out your table. We use those little turtle counters that I've shared before on my channel. I'll see if I can insert a clip here. And we'll do like a little turtle table, we like to call it. And so this gives the children a very visual representation of math. So if you have a child who really just needs to visually see how numbers work and a very practical way of doing so, I would definitely recommend Simply Charlotte Mason Math that will do that. It is I will go ahead and say it is a little bit more teacher intensive with the involvement. However, the lessons are so short and sweet that we can really be done with math in 10, 15 minutes a day, and it's no problem. And because a lot of it is visual and it is more kind of interactive, and I should say, what is the word I'm looking for? More engaging, I guess, and more living. You're actually handling the tables, you're memorizing it. And when I say it's very similar to Raised, I think this is what I kind of mean from that. So like 1 apple is from 4 apples, 1 cookie from 10 cookies, what's 1 and 3, 1 and 8, really simple questions. This is gonna be in Raised. Now Raised, you can 100% get out your physical counters and use it with Raised. However, Charlotte Mason really does encourage the student to go ahead, and let's go back to here, for example, to really go ahead and get your bowl of counters out, and the first thing you kind of do is to solve the problems using the counters. And her kind of goal with Simply Charlotte Mason Math is to get the students to not use counters and to really move on to mental math. So they both have a very heavy mental math focus, but that's just the biggest thing when it comes to kind of learning styles and teacher approaches, is this is definitely going to be more encouraging to actually see math, a visual representation in math, hands-on learning. Again, wonderful for the hands-on learner, where this is going to be for the student who needs a lot of repetition and clarity to grasp the foundational concept. So this is going to be a lot of drilling and practice and kind of like memorization, whereas in this is going to be the visual, like handling the pieces, if that makes sense. So that's the main difference between learning styles and the teacher approaches. Anyway, so moving on to more about my personal experiences with both curriculum. When I first introduced Charlotte Mason Arithmetic to my second grader, I was honestly amazed at how captivated she became by the stories and really by the practical problems. The lessons were very engaging and actually really did encourage her to think critically. So I love that the lessons were, again, engaging and encouraging her. We often spent time discussing the real world applications of the math problems, which was really fun. So for example, there are 6 leaves on the ground. The next day there are 3 more. We're in the season of autumn. Well, how many leaves are on the ground now? Now there's more than we can count, right? And so planting trees, there's chocolate chip cookies on the plate. You know, what does it take to make a chocolate chip cookie? 2 yellow trucks go by, and later 5 cars go by, and how many vehicles went by altogether. So it was fun, and it really is exciting to her to talk about the problems too. And you can do that with story problems in general, as you continue the story and kind of make it up as you go. So I love that part of it, and it really does make the learning process feel relevant and exciting. However, I will also go ahead and say, I did notice that she would occasionally, and still does occasionally, like present time, struggle with abstract concepts that needed more reinforcement. So that's kind of why I chose to do this along with it, because she did need some more additional practice. Because as you can see here, so I'm going to go back here just for a second. it might look like there's a lot of questions, but when it comes to mastering either adding the numbers together or subtracting and adding money together, I felt like there wasn't enough practice for her to really master the concept. Hence why I thought Simply Charlotte Mason Math together with Ray's New Primary Arithmetic would just be a beautiful combination, and it really has been for our family, because this is really going to solidify the quickly, kind of the mental math. It's really going to solidify adding quickly, subtracting quickly, and things like that. So I guess with that being said, the Ray's New Primary Arithmetic with my little one was really refreshing. So the structured format, I think, really allowed her to progress steadily through the material, and the repetitive exercises helped solidify her understanding. So what I liked about Simply Charlotte Mason Math is, again, the lessons were short and sweet, but when we did need to reinforce a few concepts, it was really easy to open this up and just go through all this. As you can tell, this is just straight up, you're really mastering the concept of addition or mastering subtraction, or again, any of the basic forms of addition, but you need to master them in order to build on top of that skill, right? And she really appreciated the clarity of the lessons. And my daughter really, whenever we do Raise, she does often express pride in completing each section. So this was really fun. So even though the review here is long, whenever she got through questions 1 through 10 or 1 through 20 or 1 through 30, 10 through 30, depending on where we start and stop, she'd always be so proud of herself that she got things so quickly. And I think that is almost encouraging as well to this child and this student is, and my mom will talk about this sometimes too when she homeschools. I'm going to go off on a rabbit trail here. And she says sometimes when your child is studying with a concept, it's really important to not feel like you have to move on too quickly and to let them stay in the green zone a little bit longer. Because if every single day you are introducing a new concept and overwhelming your student, they're always going to be in that orange and red zone. And I know that when my child enters a red zone, that means to just completely stop and just go back. And it's really important, especially I've noticed for my kiddos, that when we are in the green zone, they've mastered a concept. That doesn't necessarily mean that we don't go back to this concept. Honestly, I think when we go back to it and they master it even more, they get so inspired, and they, as little people, just get so encouraged and uplifted when they realize that they're doing something well. Otherwise, they're going to think they're never doing math well, because every single day they're adding in a more advanced concept and they're adding in more advanced things. But if we're constantly on a daily basis going back to review and going back to that green light zone, as my mom likes to say, it's going to really boost their kind of entire morale, because they're going to feel smart, they're going to feel like they're accomplished. And then once we kind of boosted that up and boosted their spirits with saying, oh my goodness, you're so smart and amazing, then we can move on to a new concept. But to never just stick with those red light concepts, if that makes any sense at all. I always like using that analogy of the stoplight, because it really helps me as a mama to backtrack and realize where my children are at, and then kind of meet them where they're at with the green light zone, but encourage them as well to get past the stoplight, so to speak. So overall with Raise, I found that the curriculum can be, if I was to do this by myself or by itself with nothing else, it can be somewhat dry. So it can lack the engaging narratives that my child thrives on when it comes to the Simply Charlotte Mason Arithmetic. Again, they're very two similar but yet different styles when it comes to the engagement in the stories. And as you can see in Raise, as I just flipped through here, a few things here, it is straight up just mastering the math. You're solidifying concepts, you're solidifying their tables, it's really simply just memorization at this point. You're memorizing all the tables. While I do think memorizing all the tables is 100% important, especially multiplication tables and addition, subtraction, you need to be able to do it quickly and add it in your head and do the mental and oral work. It's also important to add in your living examples. So this won't have a ton of that, but again, I think the two balance each other, just really balance each other beautifully. So I thought I would go ahead next and talk about some of the pros and cons of the two, starting of course with the Charlotte Mason book series. Some of the pros I've already mentioned a few minutes ago, but some huge pros for me, and it is subjective, that it is engaging, it is narrative driven, and the lessons, I would 100% agree with the philosophy behind the book, is this really does foster a love for learning, but specifically a love for learning math. When we are setting out the table each day, when we are sitting down and kind of playing the games with our children, and I'm getting her little coin pouches out and we're counting out money, and we're having real life situations and we're playing store together and we're getting our little things out to play with. I 100% agree that this book has done a wonderful job of really fostering that love for learning for my daughter, but again, specifically learning math. It also, as I already mentioned, it does encourage critical thinking and real world applications. And I love that. I love the real world scenarios. I love how much it includes nature, because a lot of Charlotte Mason has to do with nature study, but it's just something that my children adore and love. So that I feel like they really relate to this book when it comes on a personal level, just because I feel like in the book is everything they love. They love all the animals, they love all the nature study things, and the fact that they get to kind of like, even with here, like with fish, pears, socks, coloring books, rabbits, crackers, and butterflies. I know it's totally random, but they just love all of those things. And then when it comes to all of these, like for example, when we did this lesson, when it came to adding and subtracting all the buttons, well, my daughter has a big jar of buttons, and whenever I say, go grab your jar of buttons, it just makes her day. She loves using her buttons. And so I would definitely say it does encouraged critical thinking, real world applications, and fosters a love for learning. Another wonderful thing about this, and this is a pro as well for Raise, but this is a very flexible pacing, which will allow kind of for adaptation to individual learning styles. So if you do not want to do the math table, because I will be honest and say we do not do that every single day, just as needed, where we're needing to visualize a new concept. So you can really adapt this to whatever you want it to look like. It's kind of similar to Raise. I would consider that to be a huge pro of Raise as well. But you can take the lessons, you can make them shorter, you can make them longer, you can move on. You don't have to stick with 1 or 2 pages a day. You can really adapt it to whatever it is that you want it to be. And I think that's the beauty of homeschooling as well, is you can really take a curriculum and tweak it and twist it, and you don't have to follow the rules because we're not homeschooling to follow the rules, if that makes sense. Anyway, those are some pros of that. I will go ahead and say a couple of the cons for this curriculum that I've noticed so far. Again, it may lack sufficient practice for some learners, leading to some gaps in understanding is what I've noticed so far, especially with my second and third grader. And it does require a more hands-on approach from the teacher, which can also be time consuming. I always put that as a con and a pro. I feel like I could do that both, because if your child does need the more hands-on learning approach, it's a pro. However, if you are short on time and you're a busy mama and you have all the things going on, then I would say it might not be the best fit for your family. But it's still a beautiful thing. And then again, I'm going to go ahead and say that the reason why I started adding in Raise is I do agree that it does kind of lack sufficient practice for some learners that might just need extra practice. So that's why I brought in Raise. So when it comes to pros and cons of the Raise arithmetic, so some of the pros I would consider is that the lessons are extremely clear, they're structured, and they provide very logical progression. I wanted to share this because this is also a table. So Raise Primary Math, and I didn't mention this yet, I don't think, but Raise Arithmetic also suggests doing the visual learning with a table in a very similar way to Charlotte Mason Math. Not in the exact same way, but they do suggest using the actual physical objects to see things. However, there's not going to be a huge teacher guide to go along with this. It does have like a suggestion to teachers, and there's a lot of, sorry, we have chickens right outside the door. I don't know if you can hear that. Chickens and guineas are out on the porch. Anyway, so they have clear structured lessons that really provide logical progression. And then of course another pro would be this is just very accessible for parents teaching a traditional approach to math or seeking a more traditional approach, because it is just 100% open to go. Again, this is also 100% mental and oral math. However, you can use the graph notebooks that I've shared before on my channel as well. I'll see if I can link some down below. And what my kiddos do if they do want to write the numbers out is I'll say, for example, how many are 8 and 1, and they'll just write that out in their graph notebook so they can get practice seeing the numbers and writing the numbers. However, as I've mentioned before multiple times on my channel, I do believe mental math is one of the biggest missing links in most modern curriculums, because there's not enough emphasis on closing the book and actually working on memorizing the facts, not just memorizing, but knowing how to just quickly add in your head without seeing the numbers on paper. So if your child does struggle with closing the math book and trying to think of like, well, what's 4 plus 9 in his head, and needs help quickly adding, then I would say definitely get this as a supplement. So I know for me, something that I've been learning, especially this school year, is finding the right fit. And what I mean by fit, I mean curriculum. Like finding the right curriculum to really fit our family is so important with really, again, cultivating that really love for learning, but also instilling the concepts and letting them master concepts. And I love for our curriculum right now, just to give a little bit of an update here, I've been still loving I should say, the Christian Light Education Language Arts. That's one of the best language arts things out there that I've used so far in our homeschool, and I've probably will continue using that for a little bit anyway. So we're still loving that. But the reason why I'm mentioning other curriculums is sometimes you have to find the right one to solidify concepts, and you also have to find something that works for your student, but you also have to find it where it works for you as a mama as well. So finding something that fits all that criteria of it, does it work for the mama, does it work for the student, is it going to kind of solidify concepts with my children? So there's one thing when I choose homeschool curriculum, I don't want them to get a curriculum where they're going to do it and then shut the book and forget it. I'm really wanting them to master the concept, where we're really understanding the concept. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is these two together have solidified the math concept. You have the visual love again, and you have the practice and everything that's needed as well. So this has been our main math. Of course, language arts is Christian Light Education, and then using the McGuffey readers for reading has just been a wonderful blessing as well. And we'll do, of course, light grammar. We do spelling along, there's like spelling and writing and everything like that, along with the Christian Light Education mixed with the McGuffies is how we use them. So it's just been a beautiful year, really. Math is something, again, I've been playing with a lot. I did a recent blog post. If you are interested in seeing it, I'll have it linked down below. But it is Ray's New Primary Arithmetic, comparing this with Ray's For Today Arithmetic. I got Ray's For Today specifically for a video and kind of to review it for you guys, since I've heard a lot about it and I was really just curious. So I ended up buying it, and I tried it out for a few weeks. I was really wanting to dive in and see what it was all about. And then I thought for sure at the time that it was going to 100% be what we kind of stuck to, but I only use that maybe once or twice a week now, and I've just kind of stuck with the mental oral thing for now, just because it's worked so well for our family. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing the difference between these two. We've been loving them in our home. Anyway, thank you guys for being here and for watching today's video. Until my next one, you guys have a great day, whatever you're doing, and God bless. Bye, guys.